What if some of the most important lessons about life on Earth are hidden in a place where sunlight never reaches? Far below the ocean's surface, deep-sea creatures survive under crushing pressure, permanent darkness, and conditions that seem impossible at first glance. Yet these animals have developed remarkable ways to find food, communicate, reproduce, and thrive in one of the largest habitats on our planet. In this journey, we'll explore how life adapts when familiar rules no longer apply. We'll discover glowing organisms that create their own light, giant creatures living in unexpected places, hidden ecosystems powered by energy from deep within the Earth, and scientific discoveries that continue to change what we know about biology itself. If you enjoy thoughtful explorations of science and the natural world, consider subscribing to Calm Science Lab and joining us for future documentaries. To begin, we need to leave the familiar surface behind and follow a gradual descent into a world where sunlight fades, colors disappear, and the deep ocean slowly reveals its hidden nature. Number 1. Descending beyond sunlight into ocean darkness. The ocean presents a curious contrast to everyday experience. From the shore, it often appears open, bright, and familiar. Sunlight reflects from its surface, waves move in predictable rhythms, and life seems concentrated in places we can easily observe. Yet beneath that visible layer lies a world that gradually becomes less recognizable with every meter of descent. The journey from sunlight into darkness is not marked by a clear boundary or dramatic change. Instead, it unfolds slowly, almost imperceptibly. As light weakens, temperatures fall, and the conditions that support life begin to shift. It is within this gradual transition that one of the most remarkable environments on Earth begins to emerge. At first, the upper ocean feels connected to the world above. Sunlight penetrates the water, allowing microscopic plants known as phytoplankton to perform photosynthesis. These tiny organisms form the foundation of many marine food webs. Fish gather where food is abundant, larger predators follow, and an intricate network of life develops within the illuminated waters. For countless generations, humans have depended upon this productive zone. It is where most fishing occurs and where much of marine life is concentrated. Yet, despite its importance, this bright layer represents only a small fraction of the ocean's total volume. As a descent begins, sunlight gradually loses its strength. Water absorbs light in ways that are both predictable and surprising. Different colors disappear at different depths. Red wavelengths vanish first, followed by orange and yellow. Objects that might appear colorful near the surface slowly lose their familiar appearance. A bright red fish, if viewed deep enough underwater, no longer appears red at all. Instead, it becomes dark and subdued, blending into its surroundings. The ocean begins to filter reality itself, reshaping how colors and forms are perceived. This fading of light creates one of the most important transitions in the marine environment. The upper region, where sunlight remains strong enough to support photosynthesis, is often called the sunlit zone. Beyond it lies a region where light still exists but is too weak for plant growth. Here, visibility decreases significantly. Shadows become less distinct. Shapes emerge and disappear within a blue haze. The environment feels increasingly distant from the world above, even though the surface may be only a few hundred meters away. For many organisms, this intermediate realm serves as a place of adaptation. Species living here face challenges unknown to creatures near the surface. They must navigate limited visibility while avoiding predators and locating food. Some have evolved exceptionally large eyes capable of collecting every available photon of light. Others possess reflective structures that help them detect movement in dim conditions. Survival becomes closely tied to the ability to make use of scarce visual information. As depth increases further, a remarkable phenomenon begins to occur. The familiar cycle of day and night starts to lose its meaning. Near the surface, changes in sunlight govern behavior throughout the ecosystem. Organisms feed, migrate, and reproduce according to rhythms influenced by the rising and setting sun. But deeper down, those signals weaken. The passage of time becomes less obvious. Environmental stability replaces the constant fluctuations experienced in shallower waters. Temperatures remain relatively consistent, and seasonal changes become increasingly difficult to detect. This stability may sound comforting, yet it introduces its own challenges. In environments where conditions rarely change, resources can become extremely limited. Food arriving from above is often scarce and unpredictable. Deep-sea creatures must therefore develop strategies that allow them to endure long periods between meals. Energy conservation becomes a central principle of life. Movements are often deliberate rather than rapid. Growth may occur slowly. Every opportunity for nourishment carries significant importance. The descent into darkness is also a descent into silence, though not in the absolute sense. Water remains filled with sounds generated by geological activity, marine animals, and distant movements. Yet the visual richness that dominates life near the surface steadily diminishes. The ocean begins to rely less on sight and more on alternative forms of perception. Vibrations, chemical signals, and subtle changes in pressure become valuable sources of information. Life adapts not by resisting the darkness, but by learning to interpret a different set of environmental clues. Eventually, sunlight reaches a point where it can no longer penetrate effectively. Beyond this threshold lies a realm that remains permanently dark. No sunrise has ever illuminated these depths. No natural beam of sunlight reaches the seafloor in many regions of the deep ocean. For human imagination, darkness often suggests emptiness. Yet the deep sea demonstrates that darkness and lifelessness are not the same thing. In fact, some of the most unusual forms of life on Earth exist precisely where sunlight cannot reach. The scale of this dark environment is difficult to comprehend. The deep ocean covers vast areas of the planet, extending across enormous underwater plains, steep slopes, and hidden mountain ranges. It represents one of the largest habitats on Earth, yet it remains among the least explored. More people have observed certain distant regions of space through advanced instruments than have personally witnessed many areas of the deep seafloor. The darkness conceals not only living organisms, but entire landscapes shaped by geological processes operating over immense spans of time. As researchers gradually expanded their ability to explore deeper waters, they discovered that the transition into darkness was not simply a physical journey. It was also a shift into an environment governed by different biological rules. Near the surface, life depends heavily on solar energy. In the deep sea, organisms must find alternative ways to survive. Some rely on organic material drifting downward from above. Others develop relationships with microorganisms capable of producing energy through chemical processes. The deeper one travels, the more evident it becomes that life possesses an extraordinary capacity for adaptation. The darkness itself influences the appearance of many deep-sea species. In a place where sunlight never arrives, conventional camouflage becomes less useful. Instead, organisms evolve characteristics suited to an environment where visibility is limited and encounters may be rare. Some species develop elongated bodies, oversized mouths, or highly sensitive sensory organs. These features often appear unusual when viewed from a human perspective, but each represents a practical response to the challenges of life in the abyss. What makes this descent especially fascinating is that every stage reveals a gradual transformation rather than an abrupt change. The bright surface does not suddenly become the deep sea. Between the two exists a continuum of environments, each shaping life in different ways. Light fades little by little. Temperature shifts steadily. Pressure increases with every meter. Organisms respond through countless adaptations accumulated across millions of years. The ocean becomes a record of evolutionary problem-solving written across layers of water and depth. By the time darkness fully surrounds the environment, the foundations have already been laid for understanding one of the most powerful forces shaping deep-sea existence. Long before strange creatures appear, and long before the abyss reveals its hidden inhabitants, another influence has been steadily increasing throughout the descent. Invisible yet relentless, it grows stronger with every meter traveled downward, quietly determining which forms of life can survive and which cannot. That influence is pressure, and its role becomes impossible to ignore as the journey continues deeper into the ocean. Number 2. Pressure shapes life in hidden depths. Pressure is one of the least noticeable forces in everyday life. At sea level, it surrounds every person continuously, pressing gently from all directions without drawing attention to itself. Because the human body has evolved within this environment, the sensation largely disappears into the background of experience. Yet beneath the ocean's surface, pressure increases with remarkable speed. Every descent adds another layer of water overhead, and water is far heavier than air. What begins as a subtle force near the surface becomes an overwhelming physical reality in the deep ocean, shaping landscapes, influencing biology, and determining the limits of survival. A useful way to understand this transformation is to imagine the immense weight of the ocean itself. Water stretches for thousands of meters above many deep-sea habitats. Every molecule contributes to the force pressing downward. At depths where sunlight has long vanished, pressure may reach hundreds of times the atmospheric pressure experienced on land. In the deepest trenches, the numbers become even more extraordinary. The forces involved are difficult to visualize because they exist beyond ordinary human experience. Yet for the creatures that inhabit these depths, pressure is not an occasional challenge. It is a permanent feature of existence. Early scientists once assumed that such conditions would make life impossible. The reasoning seemed straightforward. If pressure can damage equipment, deform structures, and create severe challenges for human exploration, then surely living organisms would struggle to survive under such extreme circumstances. For a time, some researchers believed the deepest regions of the ocean might be nearly lifeless. As exploration expanded, however, a very different reality emerged. Not only did life exist in these environments, but many organisms appeared perfectly adapted to them. This discovery revealed an important truth about biology. Life does not simply tolerate environmental conditions. Over long periods of evolutionary time, it becomes shaped by them. The deep sea provides one of the clearest examples of this principle. Organisms living under immense pressure have developed bodies that function effectively within conditions that would be hostile to many surface species. Their cells, tissues, and biochemical processes reflect millions of years of adaptation to an environment unlike any found on land. One of the challenges pressure creates involves the behavior of molecules themselves. Biological systems depend upon proteins, enzymes, and cellular structures maintaining precise shapes. These microscopic arrangements determine how cells function. Under extreme pressure, molecular interactions can change. Structures that operate efficiently near the surface may become unstable or ineffective at great depths. Deep-sea organisms therefore require biochemical solutions that allow essential processes to continue despite the immense forces surrounding them. Researchers have found that many deep-sea species possess unique molecular adaptations that help stabilize critical biological functions. Certain compounds within their cells act almost like protective supports, preserving the shapes of proteins and enabling normal activity. These adjustments may seem subtle compared with visible anatomical features, yet they are among the most important adaptations of all. Without them, the machinery of life would struggle to operate in the deep ocean. Pressure also influences the physical construction of animals. Near the surface, many marine organisms rely on gas-filled structures to control buoyancy. Fish may possess swim bladders that help them maintain position in the water column. In the deep sea, however, gas becomes increasingly difficult to manage. High pressure compresses gases dramatically, creating complications for any organism that depends upon air-filled spaces. As a result, many deep-sea creatures rely on alternative strategies. Some species replace gas-filled structures with tissues rich in oils or specialized materials that provide buoyancy without being compressed. Others adopt body forms that require little energy to maintain position. These solutions demonstrate how environmental constraints guide evolutionary innovation. The challenge is not merely surviving pressure, but designing biological systems that function efficiently within it. The effects of pressure become especially apparent when deep-sea organisms are brought toward the surface. Creatures perfectly adapted to great depths may encounter serious difficulties during rapid ascent. Changes in pressure can disrupt internal balance and damage tissues that evolved under stable deep-sea conditions. In some cases, animals appear dramatically altered after being removed from their natural environment. Their unusual appearance often reflects not their normal state, but the consequences of experiencing conditions for which they were never designed. This relationship between organism and environment highlights an important idea. Adaptation is often highly specific. Traits that provide advantages in one setting may become disadvantages in another. A deep-sea species is not necessarily more resilient than a shallow water species. Rather, each is suited to the conditions in which it evolved. The remarkable success of deep-sea life stems from specialization, not from immunity to environmental challenges. Pressure influences behavior as well as physiology. Movement through the deep ocean requires careful energy management. Resources are frequently limited, and opportunities for feeding may be unpredictable. The physical demands of life under immense pressure contribute to broader ecological patterns. Many species adopt slow, deliberate lifestyles that minimize energy expenditure. Rather than pursuing constant activity, they often conserve resources and respond efficiently when opportunities arise. The deep seafloor reflects these patterns. Vast plains extend across enormous distances, appearing quiet compared with the dynamic environments closer to shore. Yet beneath this apparent stillness lies a complex web of interactions shaped by pressure, scarcity, and adaptation. Predators search for prey. Scavengers locate organic material descending from above. Microorganisms process nutrients and contribute to cycles that sustain entire ecosystems. Every participant operates within the constraints imposed by the surrounding environment. Human exploration of these depths has required its own adaptations. Submersibles designed to reach the deep ocean must withstand pressures that would crush ordinary vessels. Engineers construct specialized hulls, develop advanced materials, and carefully test equipment before deployment. Each successful descent serves as a reminder of the extraordinary conditions deep-sea organisms experience continuously throughout their lives. What humans encounter briefly through technology, these creatures navigate every moment. Pressure also affects how scientists conduct research. Collecting specimens, observing behavior, and studying ecosystems becomes significantly more complicated as depth increases. Instruments must remain functional under extreme conditions, and researchers must interpret findings from environments that are difficult to access directly. Despite these challenges, advances in technology have steadily expanded understanding of deep-sea biology. Each expedition reveals additional examples of life's ability to adapt to circumstances once considered impossible. Perhaps the most striking lesson from pressure is that it changes assumptions about habitability. Human intuition often associates comfortable conditions with the possibility of life, yet the deep ocean demonstrates that organisms can thrive under circumstances far removed from human preferences. Evolution works not toward comfort, but toward functionality. If a stable environment exists and biological solutions emerge, life can establish itself in places that initially seem inhospitable. As scientists continue exploring deeper regions, they repeatedly encounter evidence of this adaptability. Species differ dramatically in appearance, behavior, and physiology, yet all share a common relationship with the forces surrounding them. Pressure acts as both constraint and guide, limiting certain possibilities while encouraging others. Over immense spans of time, it has helped shape entire communities hidden beneath the ocean's dark surface. The result is a world where familiar expectations begin to lose their reliability. Organisms may appear delicate despite living under crushing forces. Others possess forms that seem unusual until their purpose becomes clear. Pressure has not simply influenced life in the deep sea, it has participated in its design, quietly shaping bodies and behaviors across countless generations. And as these adaptations accumulated, another remarkable transformation unfolded, producing creatures whose appearances often seem unlike anything found nearer the surface, where evolution followed very different paths through the darkness below. Number 3. Strange bodies evolve for survival below. The deeper scientists explore the ocean, the more they encounter a simple but profound lesson. Appearance is often a reflection of environment. On land, familiar shapes dominate the animal world. Limbs support movement across solid ground. Eyes function within abundant light, and bodies are built around predictable conditions. In the deep ocean, however, many of those assumptions no longer apply. Darkness, pressure, scarce food, and immense distances have guided evolution along different pathways. The result is a collection of organisms whose forms can seem unusual, even startling, when viewed through human expectations. Yet every unusual feature tells a story about survival. One of the first patterns researchers noticed among deep-sea animals was the frequent presence of large mouths and expansive jaws. Near the surface, food can often be found regularly. In many deep environments, opportunities for feeding are far less predictable. A potential meal may appear only occasionally. Under such circumstances, being selective can become a disadvantage. Many deep-sea predators have evolved the ability to consume prey that appears surprisingly large relative to their own size. Their jaws can open widely, and their stomachs may expand dramatically. These adaptations increase the chances that a rare feeding opportunity will not be wasted. This strategy reflects an important principle of deep-sea life. Organisms often evolve not for abundance, but for uncertainty. When resources arrive unpredictably, the ability to exploit whatever becomes available can determine survival. A fish capable of swallowing an unusually large meal may endure long periods before encountering another source of nourishment. What appears excessive from a human perspective often represents careful adaptation to environmental realities. Teeth provide another example. Many deep-sea predators possess long, needle-like teeth that seem disproportionate to their bodies. In shallow waters, prey may be plentiful enough that missed opportunities can be tolerated. In the deep sea, failure may carry greater consequences. Specialized teeth help secure prey once captured, reducing the likelihood of escape. Some species have teeth so long that they remain visible even when the mouth is closed. Rather than serving as weapons in a dramatic sense, these structures function as practical tools designed to maximize success in an environment where opportunities are limited. Eyes reveal a different evolutionary pathway. In regions where faint traces of light still penetrate, vision remains valuable. Some species develop remarkably large eyes capable of gathering minimal amounts of illumination. These adaptations allow detection of movement, silhouettes, or distant flashes that would otherwise remain invisible. Enlarged eyes can provide crucial advantages when every photon matters, yet deeper still, another pattern emerges. In complete darkness, vision may become less useful. Maintaining large eyes requires energy, and energy is often scarce. As a result, certain species evolve reduced visual systems, or lose functional eyes entirely. To a surface observer, this might seem like a loss. From an evolutionary perspective, it represents efficiency. Structures that no longer provide significant benefits may gradually diminish, allowing resources to be redirected toward more useful adaptations. As sight becomes less important, other senses often become more refined. Many deep-sea creatures possess highly sensitive receptors capable of detecting vibrations, pressure changes, or chemical signals in the surrounding water. These systems create alternative ways of perceiving the environment. Instead of relying primarily on visual information, organisms interpret subtle disturbances carried through the ocean itself. A nearby movement, a chemical trace left by potential prey, or a change in water currents can convey valuable information long before direct contact occurs. Body shape also reflects the demands of life below. Some species possess elongated forms that allow efficient movement through deep waters. Others appear compressed, gelatinous, or unusually delicate. These structures often puzzle observers because they differ so dramatically from familiar animals. Yet many deep-sea environments do not require strong skeletal support. Water provides buoyancy, reducing the need for rigid frameworks. In some cases, softer bodies offer advantages by conserving energy and minimizing the resources required for growth and maintenance. The famous blobfish provides an example frequently misunderstood in popular culture. Images often portray it as an oddly shaped creature with a collapsed appearance. However, those photographs usually show specimens after they have been brought to the surface. In their natural habitat, the surrounding pressure supports their structure differently. What appears strange outside its environment functions effectively within it. The lesson extends beyond a single species. Many deep-sea animals only seem unusual because they are viewed outside the conditions that shaped them. Transparency represents another remarkable adaptation. Some organisms possess bodies that allow light to pass through with minimal obstruction. In regions where faint illumination remains, transparency can make detection more difficult. Predators searching for silhouettes may struggle to distinguish nearly invisible prey. This strategy demonstrates how evolution often solves problems through subtle means rather than dramatic ones. Instead of escaping attention through speed or strength, some creatures simply reduce their visibility. Coloration follows equally fascinating patterns. Near the surface, vibrant colors serve various purposes, including communication, camouflage, and mate recognition. Deep in the ocean, many species appear black or red. Black coloration absorbs available light, helping organisms blend into darkness. Red may seem surprising, until one considers that red wavelengths disappear quickly with depth. In environments lacking red light, a red organism can effectively appear black. Evolution takes advantage of physical properties of the environment, transforming color into a form of concealment. Certain species develop exaggerated appendages that extend sensory capabilities. Long antennae, filaments, or specialized fins allow animals to sample their surroundings more effectively. In darkness, information becomes a valuable resource. Structures that increase awareness of nearby conditions can provide significant survival benefits. What might resemble decoration is often sophisticated sensory equipment refined through countless generations. Some deep-sea organisms take adaptation even further by incorporating features that seem almost improbable. Expandable stomachs, flexible bones, detachable body parts, and highly specialized feeding mechanisms appear throughout various species. These characteristics remind us that evolution does not aim for elegance according to human standards. Instead, it favors solutions that improve reproductive success and survival within specific environments. If an unusual trait works, it may persist and become increasingly refined over time. The diversity of body forms also reflects the vast range of habitats within the deep ocean. Not all depths are identical. Conditions vary according to geography, available resources, and geological activity. Organisms occupying different ecological roles face different challenges. Scavengers, predators, filter feeders, and opportunistic hunters each follow distinct evolutionary pathways. The deep sea is not home to a single type of creature but to countless specialized forms adapted to unique circumstances. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of these strange bodies is how logical they become once their environment is understood. Initial impressions often emphasize difference, yet careful observation reveals patterns of cause and effect. Large mouths correspond to scarce feeding opportunities, reduced eyes reflect perpetual darkness, flexible bodies conserve energy, sensitive receptors compensate for limited visibility. Every adaptation connects to a specific challenge presented by life below. As exploration continues, scientists regularly discover species whose forms expand our understanding of biological possibility. Each new organism demonstrates that evolution can produce solutions far beyond what human intuition might predict. The deep ocean functions as a vast natural laboratory where millions of years of experimentation have generated extraordinary diversity. And among the most remarkable of all these adaptations is one that transforms darkness itself into a resource. In a world where sunlight cannot penetrate, many creatures have developed the ability to produce their own illumination. What begins as complete darkness soon reveals scattered points of living light, creating one of the most extraordinary spectacles in the natural world. Number 4. Living lights illuminate the endless abyss. Darkness dominates the deep ocean, yet it is not an absolute darkness. As scientists began exploring greater depths, they encountered a phenomenon that transformed their understanding of life below. In places where sunlight has never reached, flashes, glows, pulses, and shimmering patterns appear throughout the water. Entire communities of organisms generate their own light. This ability, known as bioluminescence, is among the most widespread and remarkable adaptations in the deep sea. What first appears to be a realm deprived of illumination gradually reveals itself as one of the most light-filled environments on Earth, though the light originates not from the sun but from living creatures themselves. To human eyes, bioluminescence often seems almost magical. A fish produces a blue glow from beneath its body. Tiny organisms release sparkling clouds of light into the surrounding water. Delicate jelly-like creatures drift through darkness, while emitting soft pulses that travel along their transparent forms. Yet behind these displays lies a biological process grounded in chemistry. Specialized molecules interact within living tissues, releasing energy in the form of visible light. Unlike many human-made light sources, this process generates very little heat. The result is an efficient form of illumination, ideally suited to environments where energy must be used carefully. The prevalence of bioluminescence raises an intriguing question. Why would so many deep-sea organisms invest valuable resources into producing light when they live in darkness? The answer becomes clearer when one considers the challenges of life in the abyss. Darkness limits visibility, complicates communication, and makes locating food more difficult. Light offers solutions to these problems. Over millions of years, evolution repeatedly discovered ways to transform illumination into a tool for survival. One of the simplest uses of bioluminescence involves attracting prey. In an environment where food may be scarce, drawing potential meals closer can provide a significant advantage. Certain predators possess glowing structures that function almost like lures. These lights attract curious organisms searching for food or investigating unusual stimuli. As prey approaches, the predator remains concealed until the final moment. The famous anglerfish represents one of the best-known examples. Suspended before its mouth is a luminous appendage that sways gently in the darkness. What appears to be a small source of interest becomes a carefully positioned trap, yet attracting prey is only one application. Many species use light defensively. If a predator approaches, a sudden flash can create confusion or distraction. Some organisms release glowing substances into the water, producing luminous clouds that disrupt pursuit. Others generate rapid bursts of light that may startle attackers long enough to create an opportunity for escape. These strategies demonstrate that illumination can function not merely as a signal, but as a dynamic response to immediate threats. Communication represents another important role. In darkness, visual signals remain useful if organisms can produce their own light. Species-specific patterns allow individuals to recognize one another, locate potential mates, or coordinate behavior. The deep ocean may seem empty, yet many creatures depend upon finding members of their own species across vast distances. Bioluminescent displays help overcome this challenge. Distinctive flashes, rhythms, and intensities create recognizable signatures within the darkness. The colors of bioluminescent light are also revealing. Most deep-sea organisms produce blue or blue-green illumination. This is not a coincidence. Blue wavelengths travel efficiently through seawater, allowing signals to remain visible over greater distances. Evolution has therefore favored colors that maximize effectiveness within the underwater environment. The deep sea demonstrates once again how physical conditions influence biological solutions. Some species possess particularly sophisticated lighting systems. Certain fish carry rows of light-producing organs arranged along their bodies. These structures, known as photophores, can create complex patterns. In some cases, organisms regulate brightness or activate specific regions selectively. The result resembles a biological communication network built from living light. Researchers continue studying these systems, uncovering levels of complexity that challenge earlier assumptions about deep-sea behavior. Among the most fascinating uses of bioluminescence is a strategy called counter-elimination. In regions where faint light filters down from above, predators often search for silhouettes against the brighter surface. Some organisms solve this problem by producing light from their undersides. The glow matches the intensity of the faint illumination overhead, reducing visible contrast. Viewed from below, the animal becomes much harder to detect. This adaptation functions as a form of camouflage created through active light production rather than concealment alone. Such strategies reveal an important aspect of evolution in the deep ocean. Organisms do not merely endure darkness, they actively manipulate it. Light becomes part of an ongoing interaction between predator and prey, visibility and concealment, communication and deception. The abyss is not simply a place lacking sunlight. It is an environment where biological illumination has become integrated into nearly every aspect of survival. Bioluminescence also contributes to some of the most beautiful displays observed in nature. Deep-sea expeditions occasionally record scenes that appear almost otherworldly. Transparent organisms drift through darkness while tracing glowing patterns. Swarms of tiny creatures create moving constellations beneath the waves. Pulses of blue light ripple through the water column like silent signals traveling across a hidden landscape. These displays remind observers that beauty can emerge in environments far removed from human experience. Scientists estimate that a substantial proportion of deep-sea species possess some capacity for bioluminescence. The exact numbers remain uncertain because so much of the ocean remains unexplored. Every new expedition reveals additional examples, including organisms with lighting systems unlike any previously documented. This suggests that bioluminescence has evolved independently multiple times throughout evolutionary history. Different groups of organisms arrived at similar solutions because the challenges of darkness repeatedly favored the development of light-producing capabilities. The study of bioluminescence extends beyond curiosity about deep-sea life. Researchers have adapted certain bioluminescent proteins for use in laboratories around the world. These molecules help scientists track cellular processes, study disease mechanisms, and investigate biological systems. Discoveries originating in the darkness of the deep ocean have therefore influenced fields far removed from marine biology. The hidden adaptations of deep-sea organisms continue to generate knowledge with broad scientific significance. Despite decades of research, many questions remain unanswered. Scientists still seek to understand how certain species control their light production so precisely, how complex signaling behaviors evolved, and how bioluminescent ecosystems function at larger scales. Each answer tends to reveal additional mysteries, reinforcing the sense that the deep sea remains one of Earth's great frontiers of discovery. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of living light is what it reveals about adaptation itself. Faced with an environment devoid of sunlight, life did not simply adjust to darkness. It found ways to create illumination from within. Through chemistry, evolution transformed organisms into light sources capable of shaping their surroundings. The abyss became not a world without light, but a world where light is generated by life itself. And once the darkness begins to glow, new possibilities emerge. Predators learn to use illumination strategically. Prey develop methods of avoiding detection, signals become tools, and light becomes part of an ongoing contest for survival. In the endless night of the deep ocean, every flash may carry meaning, because the ability to hunt successfully often depends upon mastering the delicate balance between visibility and concealment. Number 5. Hunting strategies adapt within eternal night. In the deep ocean, food is one of the most valuable resources imaginable. Unlike the sunlit waters above, where photosynthesis supports abundant ecosystems, the abyss operates under different constraints. Energy is limited, opportunities are unpredictable, and encounters between predator and prey may be separated by long periods of searching. Under such conditions, survival depends not only upon finding food, but upon doing so efficiently. Over millions of years, this challenge has produced an extraordinary variety of hunting strategies, each carefully shaped by the realities of life in perpetual darkness. The first challenge facing any predator in the deep sea is simple but profound: locating prey. Near the surface, vision often provides a reliable way to detect movement and identify targets. In the abyss, darkness restricts the usefulness of sight. Predators must therefore gather information through alternative means. Many species possess highly sensitive sensory systems capable of detecting vibrations moving through the water. Even subtle disturbances can reveal the presence of another organism: a small fish changing direction, a drifting crustacean moving its appendages, or a larger animal passing nearby may generate signals that travel considerable distances through the ocean. Chemical detection is equally important. Water serves as an effective medium for carrying dissolved substances. As organisms move through their environment, they leave behind faint chemical traces. Specialized sensory organs allow predators to interpret these signals, creating what might be described as a chemical map of their surroundings. Rather than searching blindly, many deep-sea hunters follow gradients of information carried invisibly through the water. The process resembles tracking, though it occurs through senses very different from those familiar to humans. Because prey may be difficult to locate, many predators adopt strategies centered on patience rather than pursuit. Remaining still often conserves valuable energy. In an environment where resources are limited, unnecessary movement can be costly. Some species spend extended periods waiting for opportunities to come within range. Their bodies are designed less for continuous activity and more for sudden effectiveness when conditions become favorable. This approach reflects a broader theme throughout deep-sea ecology. Energy conservation frequently matters as much as energy acquisition. Ambush predation therefore plays a significant role in the abyss. The anglerfish provides a famous example, but it is far from unique. Many species rely upon concealment, remaining nearly motionless while blending into the darkness. Bioluminescent lures may attract curious prey, while camouflage reduces the likelihood of detection. Once a target approaches, the predator responds with remarkable speed. A brief burst of activity replaces long periods of waiting, allowing energy expenditure to remain efficient. Other hunters employ a different strategy entirely. Rather than relying on concealment, they actively patrol their environment. Certain squid and fish species move continuously through deep waters, searching for opportunities wherever they arise. These animals often possess adaptations that support greater mobility, including streamlined bodies and advanced sensory systems. Their success depends on covering larger areas and increasing the likelihood of encounters. In effect, they exchange energy for information, investing movement in hopes of locating food more quickly. The diversity of hunting methods reflects the diversity of prey available. Deep-sea predators do not all target the same organisms. Some specialize in small crustaceans, while others pursue fish, squid, or gelatinous animals drifting through the water column. Specialized feeding structures often reveal these preferences. Long teeth, expandable jaws, filtering mechanisms, and grasping appendages each correspond to particular ecological roles. Evolution repeatedly shapes anatomy around available resources. One especially fascinating adaptation involves the ability to consume prey larger than might seem possible. In environments where meals are infrequent, maximizing each opportunity becomes essential. Certain deep-sea fish possess flexible jaws and expandable stomachs that allow them to swallow organisms approaching or even exceeding their own size. Such events may not occur frequently, but when they do, the resulting energy reserve can sustain the predator for extended periods. The strategy reflects uncertainty. Since future opportunities cannot be guaranteed, making full use of present ones becomes advantageous. Scavenging represents another important pathway to survival. Not every deep-sea predator relies exclusively on active hunting. Organic material continuously drifts downward from the upper ocean, and occasionally larger sources of food arrive unexpectedly. A dead fish, squid, or marine mammal sinking through the water can provide a substantial resource for numerous organisms. Deep-sea scavengers possess remarkable abilities to locate these opportunities, often detecting chemical signals from great distances. What appears to be an isolated event may rapidly attract an entire community of consumers. This dependence on occasional food sources has influenced behavior across many species. Flexibility often proves valuable. An organism capable of both hunting and scavenging may enjoy greater success than one limited to a single strategy. As a result, many deep-sea animals display opportunistic feeding habits. They exploit available resources regardless of origin, responding to circumstances rather than adhering to narrow preferences. Bioluminescence continues to play a significant role in hunting as well. Earlier, it appeared primarily as a source of illumination and communication. Within predator-prey interactions, It becomes an active tool. Some hunters use light to attract prey directly, others employ it to investigate their surroundings. There are even species capable of producing sudden flashes that may disorient nearby organisms, creating brief opportunities for capture. In each case, light functions as part of a larger strategy shaped by the unique conditions of darkness. Prey species, however, are not passive participants in this process. Every hunting adaptation encourages corresponding defensive responses. Organisms evolve camouflage, heightened sensory abilities, rapid escape behaviors, and deceptive forms of bioluminescence. Some produce flashes specifically intended to confuse predators. Others remain transparent or nearly invisible. The deep sea hosts an ongoing evolutionary dialogue in which each innovation generates selective pressure for new countermeasures. This interaction creates a dynamic ecosystem despite the apparent stillness of the environment. To an outside observer, the abyss may seem quiet and uneventful. Yet beneath that calm surface lies constant competition. Predators search, prey evade, scavengers monitor opportunities, and countless decisions influence survival. Every organism participates in a complex network of interactions shaped by limited energy and immense space. The scale of that space introduces another challenge. Distances between individuals may be considerable. Encounters cannot always be assumed. Consequently, many predators must remain prepared to exploit opportunities whenever they arise. Adaptations often emphasize readiness rather than constant action. Largemouths, rapid strike mechanisms, and sensitive detection systems all contribute to this objective. Success depends upon making rare encounters count. Interestingly, some deep-sea hunters rely on cooperation less frequently than their counterparts in certain shallow water ecosystems. The vastness of the environment and the scarcity of resources can make coordinated hunting difficult. Solitary strategies often dominate. Nevertheless, researchers continue discovering behaviors that challenge earlier assumptions, suggesting that social interactions in the deep ocean may be more complex than once believed. As exploration advances, understanding of these hidden relationships continues to grow. Perhaps the most revealing lesson from deep-sea hunting is that survival rarely depends upon a single adaptation. Effective predators combine multiple strategies. Sensory systems gather information, specialized anatomy enables capture. Energy-efficient behavior conserves resources. Bioluminescence manipulates visibility. Each component contributes to a broader solution. Evolution assembles these traits gradually, refining them across generations until they function together within a coherent survival strategies. In the endless night below, every meal represents the outcome of countless adaptations working in concert. Predators and prey remain locked in a continuous balance shaped by darkness, distance, and scarcity. Yet hunting is only one aspect of life in this environment. Finding food may be difficult, but finding one another can be equally challenging. Across the vast, deep ocean, creatures must also communicate, navigate, and recognize members of their own species, despite conditions that often limit both sight and sound. Number 6. Communication emerges without sound or sight. Communication is often associated with the senses most familiar to humans. On land, voices carry through the air, facial expressions convey emotion, and visual signals shape countless interactions. Even in the shallow ocean, many species rely heavily on sight or sound to exchange information. Yet the deep sea presents a very different environment. Darkness limits visibility, immense distances separate individuals, and the surrounding conditions challenge many conventional forms of signaling. Despite these obstacles, communication remains essential. Organisms must locate mates, recognize members of their own species, avoid threats, and navigate complex ecological relationships. In response, life in the deep ocean has developed remarkable ways of sharing information without depending primarily on either sound or sight. The first step in understanding deep-sea communication is recognizing that information can travel through many channels. A message does not require words, images, or even conscious intent. Any signal that influences the behavior of another organism functions as communication. In the abyss, where environmental conditions differ dramatically from those near the surface, Evolution has explored alternative methods for transmitting such signals. One of the most widespread involves chemistry. Water is an excellent medium for carrying dissolved substances, allowing chemical signals to move through the environment in ways that can be highly informative. Many marine organisms release compounds that convey specific information to others of the same species. These signals may indicate reproductive readiness, territorial presence, stress, or the location of resources. While invisible to human senses, they create a continuous flow of information throughout deep-sea ecosystems. Chemical communication offers several advantages in darkness. It does not require direct visibility, and it can remain effective over considerable distances. An organism releasing a chemical signal may influence individuals it never encounters directly. The signal disperses gradually, creating patterns that can be detected and interpreted by sensitive receptors. In some respects, the deep ocean resembles a vast chemical landscape where information is continuously written into the surrounding water. The ability to detect these signals is equally important. Many deep-sea creatures possess specialized sensory structures capable of identifying minute concentrations of specific compounds. Their sensitivity often exceeds anything humans experience naturally. What appears to be an empty volume of water may contain a rich network of chemical cues indicating the presence of food, predators, potential mates, or members of the same species. To organisms adapted to this environment, the abyss is far more informative than it initially appears. Reproduction provides one of the clearest examples of the importance of chemical communication. In the immense expanses of the deep sea, locating a compatible mate can be a significant challenge. Individuals may be separated by great distances, and opportunities for encounters may be rare. Chemical signals help overcome this problem by increasing the likelihood that members of the same species can find one another. Evolution has therefore favored systems capable of transmitting highly specific information through the water, reducing uncertainty within a vast environment. Beyond chemistry, deep-sea organisms also rely heavily on detecting movement and pressure changes. Water transmits mechanical disturbances efficiently. Every movement creates vibrations that travel outward through the surrounding environment. Specialized sensory systems allow organisms to perceive these subtle signals, transforming motion into information. A nearby predator, a potential prey item, or an approaching member of the same species may all reveal themselves through disturbances in the water long before direct contact occurs. Some fish possess sensory structures known as lateral lines, which detect changes in water movement. While lateral line systems are not exclusive to deep-sea species, their importance becomes especially pronounced where visibility is limited. These structures provide a continuous stream of environmental information, allowing animals to monitor their surroundings without relying primarily on vision. In effect, they create an alternative form of perception built around movement rather than light. The deep ocean also challenges assumptions about sound itself. Although many species communicate without depending heavily on sound, the underwater environment remains highly effective at transmitting acoustic signals. Sound travels farther through water than through air under many conditions. Certain marine animals take advantage of this property, producing noises that convey information across considerable distances. Yet in the deep sea, communication often combines multiple sensory channels rather than relying exclusively on one method. Chemical cues, mechanical signals, and occasional acoustic information may all contribute to a broader communication system. Bioluminescence introduces another layer of complexity. Earlier, light appeared primarily as a tool for hunting and defense. It also serves as a means of communication. Because many deep-sea organisms can produce light, visual signaling remains possible even in complete darkness. A flash, pulse, or sequence of luminous patterns can transmit information to nearby individuals. Unlike sunlight-dependent vision, these signals originate directly from the organisms themselves. Different species often possess distinctive bioluminescent patterns. These patterns may help individuals recognize members of their own kind, reducing confusion in a diverse environment populated by countless organisms. In reproductive contexts, specific light displays can facilitate mate recognition. Such adaptations highlight the creativity of evolution. Rather than abandoning visual communication in darkness, many species generate their own visibility. The precision of some bioluminescent signals is remarkable. Certain organisms produce flashes at particular intervals or intensities that appear highly organized. Researchers continue studying these behaviors, seeking to understand the information they convey. While much remains unknown, it is increasingly clear that bioluminescence functions as more than simple illumination. It participates in complex communication networks operating throughout the deep ocean. Communication can also occur indirectly through behavior itself. The movements of one organism may influence others observing or sensing those actions. A sudden change in direction, an escape response, or a feeding behavior can provide valuable information to nearby individuals. Such interactions do not necessarily require intentional signaling. Information emerges naturally from participation in a shared environment. This broader perspective reveals an important principle. Communication is not merely the exchange of messages between individuals. It is part of a continuous process through which organisms interpret their surroundings. Every sensory adaptation contributes to that process. Chemical receptors, pressure-sensitive structures, light-producing organs, and acoustic systems all help transform environmental signals into meaningful information. The deep sea therefore challenges human-centered assumptions about awareness and interaction. Organisms do not need language, vision, or familiar social structures to exchange information effectively. Evolution develops communication systems suited to available conditions. In darkness, chemistry becomes language. Vibrations become messages. Light becomes identity. The environment shapes not only bodies and behaviors, but also the very methods through which information flows. Researchers increasingly view the deep ocean as an information-rich ecosystem rather than a silent void. Beneath the apparent stillness exists a constant exchange of signals linking organisms to one another and to their environment. Every chemical trace, every vibration, and every flash of bioluminescent light contributes to a larger network of interactions. Understanding this network helps explain how life persists despite enormous distances and limited visibility. Yet communication alone does not account for all the surprises hidden within the abyss. As exploration has expanded, scientists have encountered creatures whose size seems inconsistent with expectations. In environments defined by scarcity and extreme conditions, some organisms have evolved into giants. Their existence raises new questions about the forces shaping life below and reveals that the deep ocean continues to challenge assumptions about what is possible in the natural world. Number 7. Giant creatures thrive in unexpected conditions. When people imagine the deep ocean, they often picture creatures that are small, fragile, and adapted to survive with minimal resources. This expectation seems reasonable. Food is scarce, temperatures are low, and conditions appear demanding. Under such circumstances, one might assume that evolution would consistently favor smaller bodies, requiring less energy to maintain. Yet the deep sea repeatedly challenges such assumptions. Hidden among its dark waters and remote seafloor habitats are organisms of remarkable size, demonstrating that life can follow surprising pathways even in environments where resources appear limited. Scientists refer to one of these patterns as deep-sea gigantism. The term describes a phenomenon in which certain groups of organisms reach sizes significantly larger than their relatives living in shallower waters. Giant isopods, enormous sea spiders, oversized amphipods, and other unexpectedly large creatures inhabit parts of the deep ocean. Their existence raises an important question. Why would extreme environments sometimes produce larger bodies rather than smaller ones? The answer remains an active area of research, and no single explanation accounts for every case. Instead, scientists believe multiple factors may contribute. One possibility involves temperature. Deep ocean waters are generally cold and remarkably stable. Low temperatures influence metabolism, growth rates, and energy use. In some organisms, slower development combined with extended lifespans may create opportunities for larger body sizes over time. Growth occurs gradually, but it continues for longer periods than might be possible in more variable environments. Another factor may involve predation. In certain deep-sea habitats, The pressures that shape body size differ from those found near the surface. Organisms face unique ecological challenges, and larger size can sometimes provide advantages. A bigger body may improve mobility, increase reproductive capacity, or enhance the ability to store energy. Evolution responds not to a single environmental condition, but to a complex combination of influences, each contributing to the outcomes observed today. The giant isopod provides one of the most recognizable examples of deep-sea gigantism. At first glance, it resembles a vastly enlarged relative of terrestrial pillbugs. Some individuals grow to lengths exceeding 30 centimeters, far larger than most people would expect from such a creature. Living on the seafloor, giant isopods function primarily as scavengers. They patrol dark environments in search of organic material descending from above, or larger food sources arriving unexpectedly. Their size may help them exploit rare opportunities effectively. When food becomes available, the ability to consume and store substantial amounts of energy can be advantageous. Deep-sea scavengers often experience long intervals between significant meals. Large bodies provide capacity for reserves that may support survival during extended periods of scarcity. What appears excessive from a human perspective may represent an efficient solution to an unpredictable food supply. Even more striking are the giant squid that inhabit the deep ocean. For centuries, stories of enormous tentacled creatures occupied a space between observation and legend. Sailors reported encounters, but direct evidence remained limited. As technology improved and scientific exploration expanded, researchers gradually confirmed the existence of giant squid and related species. These animals can reach extraordinary lengths, with tentacles extending far beyond the dimensions of most marine predators. The giant squid illustrates how little was known about deep-sea life until relatively recently. Despite their impressive size, these animals remained largely hidden because they occupy environments difficult for humans to access. Their rarity in observations reflects the challenges of exploration rather than the absence of large organisms. The deep ocean conceals many creatures whose lives unfold beyond ordinary human experience. Large body size creates unique opportunities and challenges. Energy requirements increase as organisms grow, yet larger animals may also travel greater distances, store more resources, and reproduce more effectively. In deep-sea ecosystems, these trade-offs produce a wide range of outcomes. Some lineages remain small and efficient, others evolve toward remarkable dimensions. The resulting diversity demonstrates that no single strategy dominates across all environments. Gigantism is not limited to mobile animals. Certain deep-sea invertebrates also achieve impressive sizes. Tube worms associated with hydrothermal vent systems can grow far larger than many related organisms. Their success reflects unique environmental conditions that support abundant chemical energy. While such ecosystems differ from much of the surrounding deep ocean, they demonstrate how local circumstances can influence evolutionary trajectories in unexpected ways. The existence of giant creatures also affects ecological relationships. Larger predators influence prey populations differently than smaller hunters. Large scavengers process resources at different scales. Body size shapes movement patterns, reproductive strategies, and interactions within ecosystems. Understanding these organisms therefore contributes to a broader understanding of deep-sea ecology as a whole. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of deep-sea gigantism is what it reveals about assumptions concerning environmental limits. Humans often associate harsh conditions with restriction, yet evolution does not always respond by minimizing size or complexity. Sometimes the opposite occurs. Under certain combinations of pressure, temperature, resource availability, and ecological interaction, larger forms emerge and persist successfully. The deep sea reminds us that biological possibilities frequently exceed intuitive expectations. Research into these giant organisms continues to evolve. Modern submersibles, remotely operated vehicles, and advanced imaging systems provide opportunities to observe species in their natural habitats rather than relying solely on specimens brought to the surface. These observations often reveal behaviors impossible to infer from anatomy alone. Scientists can now study movement, feeding, and ecological interactions directly, generating a richer understanding of life in the abyss. Such discoveries frequently lead to additional questions. How do large animals locate resources across vast distances? What reproductive strategies support populations dispersed throughout enormous environments? How do developmental processes operate under conditions of darkness, pressure, and limited food availability? Each answer deepens understanding while revealing new areas for investigation. The giant creatures of the deep ocean serve as reminders that size itself is not a simple measure of ecological success. Survival depends upon matching biological design to environmental conditions. In some cases, small and efficient bodies provide advantages. In others, larger forms prove equally effective. Evolution explores many possibilities simultaneously, preserving those that function within specific circumstances. As scientists examine these organisms more closely, another realization emerges. Even the largest animals do not exist independently of their ecosystems. Their survival depends upon flows of energy and nutrients linking countless species together. Beneath the apparent isolation of the abyss lies a network of relationships connecting microscopic life, scavengers, predators, and giant organisms alike. Understanding those connections reveals a deeper truth about the deep ocean. Many of its ecosystems depend upon energy sources that remain largely invisible, sustaining life in ways that challenge traditional ideas about how biological communities function. That hidden foundation becomes especially important when exploring one of the most fundamental questions in deep-sea biology. If sunlight cannot reach these depths and food is often scarce, what ultimately supports such rich and diverse forms of life? The answer lies within subtle processes that operate largely out of sight, where invisible energy moves through ecosystems and quietly sustains entire worlds beneath the darkness. Number 8. Fragile ecosystems depend on invisible energy. One of the most persistent questions about the deep ocean concerns the source of its energy. On land and in the sunlit layers of the sea, the answer often begins with sunlight. Plants capture solar energy through photosynthesis, forming the foundation of ecosystems that support countless other organisms. This relationship is so familiar that it can seem almost universal, yet far below the reach of sunlight, life continues to flourish. Predators hunt, scavengers search the seafloor, microorganisms multiply, and entire communities persist in darkness. Understanding how this is possible requires looking beyond visible sources of energy and into processes that operate quietly beneath the ocean's surface. For much of scientific history, researchers assumed that deep-sea life depended almost entirely on material arriving from above. This idea remains important because a significant portion of deep ocean ecosystems does rely on energy that originates in sunlit waters. Tiny particles of organic matter drift downward continuously through the water column. These particles include microscopic organisms, fragments of biological material, and waste products generated near the surface. Collectively, scientists sometimes refer to this slow descent as marine snow. The term evokes a gentle image, and in some ways it is appropriate. Throughout the deep ocean, countless particles fall steadily toward the seafloor. Individually, they are often small and easily overlooked. Together, however, they represent a crucial pathway through which energy moves from the surface into deeper environments. Many organisms depend directly or indirectly upon this constant rain of organic material. What begins as sunlight captured by microscopic life near the surface eventually becomes nourishment for creatures living thousands of meters below. Yet marine snow reveals an important characteristic of deep-sea ecosystems: efficiency. Only a small fraction of the energy produced near the surface ultimately reaches the deepest regions. Along the way, countless organisms consume, transform, and recycle organic matter. By the time material arrives in the abyss, much of its original energy has already been used. Deep-sea communities therefore operate under conditions where resources are limited and must be utilized carefully. This scarcity helps explain many of the adaptations discussed earlier. Slow metabolisms, opportunistic feeding behaviors, and efficient energy use all reflect the realities of living within ecosystems supported by modest energy flows. Every particle drifting downward may contribute to survival. In a sense, the deep ocean is connected to distant surface waters through a continuous transfer of biological resources. Occasionally, much larger energy inputs arrive unexpectedly. The carcass of a whale sinking to the seafloor provides a striking example. When a large marine animal dies and descends into the depths, it introduces an enormous concentration of organic material into an otherwise resource-limited environment. Scientists refer to these events as whale falls. A single whale carcass can sustain diverse communities for years or even decades, attracting scavengers, microorganisms, and numerous specialized species. The ecological significance of whale falls extends beyond the immediate consumption of tissue. As decomposition progresses, nutrients become available to a wider range of organisms. Entire communities develop around these temporary islands of abundance. Researchers studying whale falls have discovered species specifically adapted to exploiting such opportunities, highlighting how even rare events can shape evolutionary pathways over long periods. Despite the importance of marine snow and whale falls, they do not provide the entire story. One of the most transformative discoveries in deep-sea science emerged when researchers found ecosystems thriving in places where sunlight-derived energy played a far smaller role than expected. These communities depended upon a fundamentally different source of power, one rooted not in light but in chemistry. At first, this realization challenged established assumptions about the requirements for life. If ecosystems could exist without direct dependence on sunlight, then biological possibilities might be broader than previously imagined. The discovery reshaped scientific understanding not only of the deep ocean, but also of life itself. Before exploring those remarkable environments in detail, it is useful to appreciate the role of microorganisms throughout the deep sea. Although large animals often attract attention, microscopic life forms perform many of the essential functions supporting ecosystem stability. Bacteria and other microorganisms break down organic material, recycle nutrients, and participate in chemical processes that influence entire food webs. Their activities are often invisible, yet their ecological importance is immense. In many ways, microorganisms serve as intermediaries between energy sources and larger organisms. They transform materials into forms that can be utilized by other members of the ecosystem. Without these processes, nutrients would become trapped, limiting the availability of resources necessary for survival. Deep-sea ecosystems therefore depend upon interactions occurring at scales far smaller than human perception. This dependence contributes to the fragility of many deep ocean communities. Energy flows are often limited, and disruptions can have significant consequences. Recovery from disturbance may proceed slowly because growth rates and biological processes frequently occur over extended timescales. Unlike some highly productive environments where resources are replenished rapidly, many deep-sea ecosystems operate under conditions of careful balance. Human activities increasingly raise questions about these vulnerabilities. Deep-sea mining, pollution, and climate-related changes have the potential to affect environments that remain only partially understood. Scientists continue investigating how disturbances propagate through deep ecosystems and how resilient different communities may be. The challenge is complicated by the fact that many species have yet to be discovered, and ecological relationships often remain incompletely documented. The concept of invisible energy helps illuminate why these systems deserve careful attention. Much of what sustains deep-sea life cannot be observed directly during a brief visit. Energy moves through microscopic organisms, chemical reactions, drifting particles, and long ecological chains. The processes are subtle, yet they support entire communities extending across vast regions of the ocean. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of these energy networks is their ability to sustain complexity under conditions that appear inhospitable. Darkness, pressure, and scarcity might seem to limit biological potential. Instead, they have given rise to ecosystems exhibiting extraordinary diversity and resilience. Life persists because energy, though limited, continues to flow through interconnected pathways linking organisms across multiple scales. As scientific understanding expands, Researchers increasingly view the deep ocean not as a collection of isolated species, but as a network of relationships organized around energy transfer. Every predator, scavenger, microorganism, and giant creature participates in this broader system. Their survival depends upon resources moving through channels that are often hidden from immediate observation. Yet among all the pathways through which energy enters the deep ocean, some are more surprising than others. In certain regions, life is supported by processes entirely independent of sunlight. There, chemicals emerging from beneath the Earth's crust provide the foundation for thriving communities. These extraordinary environments reveal one of the most unexpected chapters in deep-sea science and demonstrate that even in complete darkness, new sources of energy can create flourishing ecosystems where few would have expected them to exist. Those environments are found around hydrothermal vents, where the boundaries between geology and biology begin to blur, and where the deep ocean reveals some of its most astonishing secrets. Number 9. Hydrothermal vents create islands of life. Far beneath the ocean's surface, where darkness is complete and temperatures in the surrounding water hover near freezing, there are places that seem almost impossible. Rising from the seafloor are towering structures that release mineral-rich fluids heated deep within the earth. Around them gathers an abundance of life that appears strikingly out of place in the surrounding abyss. These are hydrothermal vents, and their discovery transformed scientific understanding of how ecosystems can function in the absence of sunlight. Before hydrothermal vents were found, most researchers believed that nearly all ecosystems ultimately depended on energy from the sun, whether directly through photosynthesis or indirectly through food chains linked to surface productivity. Solar energy appeared to underpin life everywhere on Earth. The deep ocean was understood largely as a recipient of resources produced elsewhere. Then, during explorations of the seafloor in the late 20th century, scientists encountered communities thriving around hydrothermal vents, supported by an entirely different foundation. The discovery was remarkable not only because life existed there, but because it existed in abundance. Dense clusters of organisms surrounded the vents: giant tube worms, unusual clams, shrimp, crabs, fish, and countless microorganisms formed communities that contrasted sharply with the relative sparsity of the surrounding deep-sea environment. It was as though isolated islands of biological productivity had emerged within an otherwise resource-limited landscape. To understand how these ecosystems function, it is necessary to begin beneath the sea floor itself. Hydrothermal vents form in regions where seawater seeps into cracks within the Earth's crust. As the water descends, it encounters rocks heated by geological processes occurring below. Temperatures rise dramatically. The water reacts chemically with surrounding minerals and eventually returns to the seafloor carrying dissolved compounds acquired during its underground journey. When this heated fluid emerges into the cold ocean, dramatic interactions occur. Minerals precipitate out of solution, creating structures that may grow into chimney-like formations over time. Some vents release dark plumes rich in minerals, earning the name black smokers. Others produce lighter-colored emissions known as white smokers. Though visually striking, the most important aspect of these environments lies not in their appearance but in their chemistry. The chemicals carried by vent fluids provide a source of energy that certain microorganisms can exploit. Unlike plants, which use sunlight to drive photosynthesis, these microorganisms rely on chemical reactions. Through a process known as chemosynthesis, they convert chemical energy into biological energy, producing organic material that supports further life. In essence, they occupy a role analogous to that of plants in sunlit ecosystems, yet their energy source originates from geological activity rather than sunlight. This realization represented a profound shift in scientific thinking. Life could flourish not only through solar energy but also through chemical energy emerging from within the Earth itself. The implications extended far beyond marine biology. If ecosystems could exist independently of sunlight on Earth, then similar possibilities might exist elsewhere in the universe under suitable conditions. At the center of many hydrothermal vent communities are microorganisms performing chemosynthesis. Although invisible to casual observation, They form the true foundation of these ecosystems. Their ability to convert chemical compounds into usable energy supports a wide range of larger organisms. Without them, the extraordinary communities surrounding vents would not exist. One of the most famous inhabitants of hydrothermal vents is the giant tube worm. These animals can reach lengths exceeding 2 meters and often occur in dense clusters surrounding active vent sites. At first glance, they present a biological puzzle. Adult tube worms lack mouths, digestive systems, and many of the structures typically associated with obtaining food. Their survival depends on a remarkable partnership with internal bacteria. Within specialized tissues, tube worms host chemosynthetic microorganisms that process chemicals from vent fluids. The bacteria generate nutrients, which in turn support the worm. In exchange, the worm provides access to the compounds and conditions necessary for bacterial activity. This relationship illustrates a broader principle found throughout nature. Cooperation can be as important as competition in shaping ecosystems. Similar partnerships appear among other vent organisms. Many species maintain close associations with microorganisms, relying on them directly or indirectly for nutrition. These relationships demonstrate how deeply interconnected hydrothermal vent communities are. Energy flows through networks of cooperation linking biology and geology in ways rarely seen elsewhere. The physical environment around hydrothermal vents is also extraordinary. Conditions can change dramatically over short distances. Water emerging from vents may be extremely hot, while nearby seawater remains near freezing. Organisms living in these regions must therefore tolerate sharp gradients in temperature and chemistry. Adaptations allowing survival under such conditions reflect the remarkable flexibility of life. Despite their apparent stability when viewed briefly, hydrothermal vents are often temporary features on geological timescales. Individual vent systems may remain active for years, decades, or centuries, but eventually many decline as underlying geological processes shift. When activity ceases, the ecosystem dependent upon that energy source faces profound change. Species may disperse to other vents, adapt to new circumstances, or disappear from the area altogether. This impermanence contributes to a fascinating ecological dynamic. Hydrothermal vents are frequently separated by vast distances across the seafloor. Populations inhabiting one vent field may be isolated from those at another. Organisms must somehow colonize new sites when opportunities arise. Larval stages capable of traveling through ocean currents often play a critical role in connecting these distant communities. The challenge of dispersal highlights the fragmented nature of vent ecosystems. Unlike continuous forests or grasslands, hydrothermal vent habitats resemble scattered oases distributed across enormous expanses of deep ocean. Each vent field functions as a localized center of productivity, surrounded by environments that may differ substantially in available energy and biological composition. Scientific exploration continues to reveal new vent systems and previously unknown species associated with them. Every expedition expands understanding of how life adapts to extreme conditions. Researchers study not only the organisms themselves but also the chemical and geological processes supporting these communities. The result is a growing appreciation for the complexity of interactions occurring where Earth's interior meets the deep ocean. Hydrothermal vents remind us that life is often more adaptable than expected. Faced with darkness and isolation, organisms discovered ways to harness energy from sources entirely unrelated to sunlight. Ecosystems emerged around chemistry, transforming geological activity into biological opportunity. What once seemed impossible became an established part of Earth's living systems. Yet even within these productive environments, one challenge remains universal. Organisms must reproduce. Survival of a species depends not merely on obtaining energy, but on successfully passing life to the next generation. In the vastness of the deep ocean, where individuals may be separated by great distances and encounters can be rare, reproduction presents its own set of extraordinary difficulties. The solutions evolution has produced are as fascinating as the vent ecosystems themselves, revealing how life persists even when potential partners may be hidden somewhere within thousands of cubic kilometers of dark water. Number 10. Reproduction persists across vast, empty distances. Reproduction is one of the most fundamental processes in biology. Every species, regardless of size, habitat, or complexity, depends upon its ability to produce future generations. In many environments, this challenge is eased by the simple fact that organisms frequently encounter one another. Forests, grasslands, coral reefs, and coastal waters often contain dense populations where potential mates may be relatively easy to find. The deep ocean presents a very different reality. Its immense scale, low population densities, and vast stretches of darkness create one of the most demanding reproductive landscapes on Earth. Imagine a world where suitable partners may be separated by kilometers of open water, where visibility is limited, and where encounters cannot be assumed. For countless deep-sea organisms, this is not an occasional difficulty but a permanent condition. Yet despite these obstacles, reproduction continues successfully across the abyss. The persistence of life in such environments reflects some of evolution's most inventive solutions. One of the most important adaptations involves timing. In environments where encounters are rare, synchronizing reproductive activity can significantly improve the chances of success. Many marine organisms release eggs and sperm into the surrounding water, relying on external fertilization. For this strategy to work effectively, individuals must often coordinate reproductive events with remarkable precision. Environmental cues, chemical signals, seasonal patterns, and biological rhythms help increase the likelihood that reproductive materials meet despite the distances involved. Even in the deep ocean, where seasonal changes may seem less obvious than at the surface, subtle environmental signals can still influence reproductive cycles. Variations in food availability, currents, or organic material arriving from above may provide information that organisms use to time reproduction. By responding collectively to shared conditions, populations improve the probability of successful fertilization. Chemical communication plays a particularly important role in reproductive processes. Earlier, chemical signals appeared as tools for general communication and environmental awareness. In reproduction, their significance becomes even more pronounced. Certain compounds can indicate reproductive readiness, helping individuals locate compatible mates within enormous habitats. Sensitive receptors allow organisms to detect these signals at extremely low concentrations, effectively extending their ability to find one another beyond direct physical contact. Some species adopt a strategy centered on producing vast numbers of offspring. When uncertainty is high and individual survival rates are low, generating large quantities of eggs or larvae can increase the likelihood that at least some descendants survive. This approach is common throughout marine ecosystems, but takes on special importance in the deep sea, where distances and environmental challenges create significant risks for developing young. The larval stage itself often serves as a crucial mechanism for overcoming geographic separation. Many deep-sea organisms release larvae that drift through ocean currents before settling into suitable habitats. These currents function as natural transportation systems, connecting populations that might otherwise remain isolated. Through dispersal, larvae can colonize new environments, maintain genetic diversity, and establish populations across broad regions of the ocean. This movement is particularly important in fragmented ecosystems such as hydrothermal vent communities. As discussed previously, vent habitats often resemble isolated islands scattered across the seafloor. Species associated with these environments must somehow bridge the distances between active vent systems. Larval dispersal provides a solution, allowing future generations to reach newly formed habitats and maintain connections between distant populations. Not all species rely on releasing reproductive materials into open water. Some have evolved more direct approaches. Internal fertilization, brooding behaviors, and various forms of parental investment occur throughout the deep sea. These strategies reduce uncertainty by increasing the likelihood that offspring develop successfully. While they may require greater energy investment from parents, they can provide advantages in environments where reproductive opportunities are infrequent. Among the most remarkable reproductive adaptations in the deep ocean is one found in certain anglerfish species. In some cases, Males are dramatically smaller than females and face the challenge of locating a mate within a vast environment. Once a male successfully finds a female, he may attach permanently to her body. Over time, tissues and circulatory systems become connected, creating an extraordinary biological partnership. The male effectively becomes a permanent reproductive companion, ensuring future reproductive opportunities whenever conditions are favorable. This adaptation may seem unusual, yet it illustrates an important evolutionary principle. Extreme environments often favor solutions that appear unconventional when judged by more familiar standards. The objective is not conformity to human expectations, but successful reproduction under specific conditions. If a strategy improves reproductive success, evolution may preserve and refine it over generations. Deep-sea organisms also face challenges related to energy allocation. Reproduction requires resources, and resources are often limited. Producing eggs, supporting developing offspring, searching for mates, and engaging in reproductive behaviors all carry costs. As a result, many species balance reproductive investment carefully against other survival needs. Growth, maintenance, feeding, and reproduction compete for available energy, creating trade-offs that shape life histories. Some organisms reproduce infrequently but invest heavily in each reproductive event. Others reproduce more regularly with smaller investments per offspring. Different strategies emerge depending on environmental conditions, life expectancy, and ecological roles. The deep sea contains a remarkable diversity of reproductive approaches, reflecting the varied circumstances encountered across different habitats and species. Scientists continue studying these systems because many aspects remain poorly understood. Observing reproduction in the deep ocean presents significant challenges. Events may occur infrequently, in remote locations, or under conditions difficult to access directly. Advances in underwater technology have improved opportunities for observation, yet many reproductive behaviors remain mysterious. Each new discovery contributes to a broader understanding of how life persists under extreme conditions. The persistence of reproduction across vast empty distances highlights a broader theme running throughout deep-sea biology. Life adapts not by eliminating challenges, but by developing methods for overcoming them. Darkness, pressure, scarcity, and separation create obstacles, yet evolution repeatedly generates solutions. Communication systems help individuals find one another. Larval dispersal connects distant populations. Specialized reproductive strategies increase success where opportunities are rare. Perhaps most importantly, these adaptations ensure continuity. Every generation inherits traits shaped by countless previous generations that survived similar challenges. Through reproduction, evolutionary innovations accumulate and ecosystems maintain their complexity over time. The deep ocean may seem remote and isolated, but it remains deeply connected through the continuous renewal of life. This continuity becomes especially significant when considering how organisms manage energy throughout their lives. Reproduction is only one part of a broader biological economy operating in environments where resources are often limited. Many deep-sea species survive not by rapid growth or constant activity, but through extraordinary efficiency. Their bodies function according to rhythms very different from those familiar in more productive ecosystems. To understand how life endures across such immense spans of time and space, it is necessary to examine one of the defining characteristics of deep-sea existence: the slow and deliberate management of energy. In the abyss, survival often depends not on speed or abundance, but on patience, conservation, and the ability to thrive within a world where every unit of energy carries immense value. Number 11. Slow metabolisms govern deep ocean existence. If there is a single principle that connects many forms of deep-sea life, it is the careful management of energy. Throughout the ocean's greatest depths, organisms live in environments where food may be unpredictable, temperatures are low, and opportunities for replenishing energy reserves can be limited. Under such conditions, survival often depends less on acquiring vast amounts of energy and more on using available energy efficiently. This reality has shaped one of the most important biological characteristics of deep ocean existence: a generally slower pace of life governed by reduced metabolic demands. Metabolism refers to the countless chemical processes that sustain living organisms. These processes provide energy for movement, growth, repair, reproduction, and every other function necessary for survival. A high metabolic rate allows rapid activity but requires a continuous supply of resources. A lower metabolic rate reduces energy requirements, making it easier to endure periods of scarcity. In the deep ocean, where resources are frequently limited, slower metabolic strategies often provide significant advantages. Temperature plays a major role in this pattern. Much of the deep sea remains consistently cold, often only a few degrees above freezing. Low temperatures influence the speed of chemical reactions throughout biological systems. As a result, many physiological processes proceed more slowly than they would in warmer environments. Growth rates may decrease, development may take longer, and movement may become more deliberate. Far from being a disadvantage, these changes often align closely with the realities of deep-sea life. A slower metabolism reduces the amount of food required to sustain an organism. In habitats where meals may be separated by long intervals, this reduction can be critical. A creature capable of surviving on limited energy gains flexibility that may improve long-term survival. Evolution therefore frequently favors efficiency over speed in environments characterized by scarcity. This principle becomes evident when observing many deep-sea animals. Compared with active predators inhabiting productive coastal waters, numerous abyssal species display measured and economical behaviors. Movements are often purposeful, rather than constant. Organisms avoid unnecessary expenditures of energy, responding selectively to opportunities and threats. The resulting lifestyle reflects a balance between conservation and readiness. Some deep-sea fish illustrate this balance particularly well. They may spend extended periods drifting or remaining relatively stationary, conserving energy whenever possible. Yet when prey becomes available, they can respond rapidly and effectively. The ability to remain inactive for long durations while retaining the capacity for sudden action represents an important adaptation to unpredictable environments. Longevity is another consequence of slower metabolic processes. Many deep-sea organisms live considerably longer than comparable species in more productive habitats. Reduced metabolic demands can slow rates of aging, growth, and turnover. Some deep-sea corals, for example, may persist for centuries or even millennia. These organisms grow gradually, accumulating structure over extraordinary spans of time. Their existence challenges human perceptions of ecological timescales, revealing biological processes operating across generations far beyond ordinary observation. Long lifespans often coincide with slow reproduction and development. Rather than producing rapid population growth, many deep-sea species follow strategies emphasizing persistence and stability. Offspring may take years to reach maturity. Population recovery following disturbance may therefore proceed slowly. This characteristic contributes to the vulnerability of certain deep-sea ecosystems, particularly when faced with environmental changes occurring more rapidly than organisms can adapt. The relationship between metabolism and food availability extends throughout entire ecosystems. Predators, scavengers, filter feeders, and microorganisms all participate in energy networks shaped by limited resources. Every level of the food web reflects the need for efficiency. Organisms that waste energy unnecessarily may struggle to compete with those better adapted to scarcity. Even feeding behaviors reveal the influence of metabolic constraints. Many deep-sea animals exhibit opportunistic habits, consuming available resources whenever opportunities arise. Since future food supplies cannot be guaranteed, flexibility becomes valuable. A predator may consume prey larger than expected. A scavenger may travel significant distances to exploit a rare food source. These behaviors help compensate for the uncertainty inherent in deep-sea environments. Microorganisms also reflect these principles. Deep beneath the seafloor and throughout abyssal sediments, microbial communities persist under conditions where energy availability is extremely low. Some researchers have suggested that certain microorganisms may divide only rarely, with generations measured over exceptionally long timescales. Despite their slow activity, These communities contribute to nutrient cycling and ecosystem function, demonstrating that biological success does not always require rapid growth. The concept of time itself appears different when viewed through the lens of deep-sea metabolism. In highly productive ecosystems, ecological changes may unfold quickly. Populations fluctuate, resources cycle rapidly, and environmental responses can occur over short periods. In many deep-sea habitats, processes proceed more gradually. Growth, reproduction, colonization, and recovery often require years, decades, or longer. Understanding these timescales is essential for interpreting how deep ecosystems function. This slower pace also influences scientific research. Human observation tends to focus naturally on events occurring within accessible timeframes. Yet many deep-sea processes operate beyond the duration of typical studies. Long-term monitoring becomes especially important for understanding population dynamics, ecosystem resilience, and environmental change. The abyss teaches patience not only to its inhabitants but also to those attempting to study it. Interestingly, not all deep-sea environments conform entirely to this pattern. Hydrothermal vent ecosystems, for example, can support relatively rapid growth compared with surrounding abyssal regions because of their abundant chemical energy. Nevertheless, even these productive habitats remain influenced by broader deep ocean constraints. Variability exists, but efficiency remains a recurring theme throughout the deep sea. The advantages of slow metabolism become especially clear during periods of scarcity. An organism requiring minimal energy can survive conditions that might prove fatal to more demanding species. In environments where resources arrive unpredictably, resilience often depends on endurance rather than speed. Evolution repeatedly rewards strategies capable of weathering uncertainty over long durations. Perhaps this is one of the most profound lessons offered by deep-sea life. Success does not always emerge from rapid expansion, intense activity, or continuous growth. In some environments, persistence itself becomes a powerful adaptation. Organisms survive because they align their biological needs with available resources, maintaining balance within systems where energy remains precious. The deep ocean therefore operates according to principles that can seem unfamiliar from a human perspective. Many of its inhabitants live slowly, grow gradually, and conserve energy carefully. Their existence demonstrates that biological complexity can flourish even under conditions of scarcity. Indeed, some of the most enduring ecosystems on Earth are sustained precisely because their inhabitants have mastered the art of efficiency. Yet despite the importance of these long-established adaptations, much of what is known about deep-sea life has emerged only recently. For most of human history, the abyss remained hidden beyond direct observation. Its creatures, ecosystems, and geological wonders existed largely beyond imagination. That situation began to change as scientific exploration advanced, allowing researchers to descend into environments previously inaccessible and revealing a vast realm of life that had remained unknown for countless generations. The story of how humanity gradually uncovered these hidden worlds is itself a remarkable chapter in scientific discovery, one that transformed understanding of the ocean and continues to reveal new species, new ecosystems, and new questions with every expedition into the depths. Number 12. Scientific expeditions reveal previously unknown species. For most of human history, the deep ocean existed largely as a mystery. People crossed oceans, harvested resources from coastal waters, and observed marine life near the surface, yet the vast regions lying thousands of meters below remained inaccessible. Unlike mountains, forests, or deserts, the abyss could not be explored simply by traveling farther. Darkness, pressure, and distance created barriers that limited direct observation. As a result, generations of people formed ideas about the deep sea based largely on speculation. Only through scientific exploration did those assumptions begin to give way to evidence, revealing a hidden world far richer and more diverse than anyone had imagined. The challenge of exploring the deep ocean is fundamentally different from exploring most environments on land. Even reaching these depths requires overcoming immense physical constraints. Pressure increases steadily with descent, eventually reaching levels capable of crushing ordinary equipment. Visibility becomes limited. Temperatures remain low, and communication with the surface grows more difficult. Every expedition must contend with conditions that test both technology and human ingenuity. Early efforts to understand the deep sea relied on indirect methods. Scientists lowered nets, dredges, and sampling devices into deep waters, retrieving organisms and sediments from environments they could not directly observe. These techniques provided valuable information, but they offered only fragments of a much larger picture. Specimens could be examined, yet their behaviors, habitats, and ecological relationships often remained unknown. Researchers were attempting to understand entire ecosystems through isolated pieces. Even those early samples, however, challenged prevailing assumptions. Organisms collected from great depths demonstrated that life existed in places many had considered inhospitable. Strange fish, unfamiliar invertebrates, and unusual microorganisms hinted at a diversity hidden beyond ordinary observation. Each discovery suggested that the deep ocean was not a biological wasteland, but a complex environment deserving further investigation. As technology advanced, opportunities for exploration expanded dramatically. Submersibles capable of carrying researchers into deep waters transformed scientific understanding. For the first time, scientists could observe organisms within their natural habitats, rather than relying solely on specimens brought to the surface. This shift was profound. Behaviors, interactions, and environmental contexts that had previously been invisible became accessible through direct observation. One of the most significant moments in deep-sea exploration occurred when researchers began documenting hydrothermal vent ecosystems. The abundance of life surrounding these vents surprised the scientific community and demonstrated how incomplete previous understanding had been. Entire communities existed in places no one had anticipated. The discovery served as a reminder that exploration often reveals not merely additional details, but entirely new ways of thinking about biological systems. Remotely operated vehicles, often known as ROVs, further expanded the reach of scientific expeditions. These sophisticated machines can descend to extreme depths while transmitting video, collecting samples, and conducting experiments. Unlike crude submersibles, they can remain underwater for extended periods and access environments that would otherwise be difficult or dangerous for humans to visit. ROVs have become essential tools for modern deep-sea research. The images returned by these vehicles frequently reveal species never before observed. Delicate jelly-like organisms drift through darkness. Unusual fish navigate the water column using adaptations unlike those found in shallower environments. Invertebrates occupy niches shaped by pressure, temperature, and chemical conditions unique to their habitats. Every expedition carries the possibility of encountering forms of life previously unknown to science. Discovering a new species is a meticulous process. Observing an unfamiliar organism is only the beginning. Researchers must document its characteristics, compare it with known species, analyze genetic information, and determine whether it truly represents a distinct form of life. This work often requires collaboration among specialists from multiple disciplines. Taxonomists, geneticists, ecologists, and oceanographers contribute different perspectives, gradually building a comprehensive understanding of each discovery. The pace of discovery remains remarkable because so much of the deep ocean is still unexplored. Estimates vary, but scientists generally agree that a significant proportion of marine species may remain undocumented. In some regions, virtually every major expedition encounters organisms previously unknown to science. This reality highlights how little is still understood about one of the planet's largest habitats. Many newly discovered species challenge expectations about biological possibility. Some possess unusual anatomical structures. Others demonstrate behaviors not previously documented. Certain organisms survive under environmental conditions once thought incompatible with life. Each discovery expands understanding of evolution's capacity to generate solutions to diverse ecological challenges. The significance of these findings extends beyond cataloging biodiversity. Every species represents a unique evolutionary history. Its adaptations provide information about environmental pressures, ecological relationships, and biological innovation. Studying new organisms helps scientists understand broader principles governing life in extreme environments. Individual discoveries contribute to larger patterns revealing how ecosystems function. Genetic technologies have added another dimension to exploration. Researchers can now analyze environmental DNA, often abbreviated as eDNA, collected from water samples. Organisms continuously shed genetic material into their surroundings. By examining this material, scientists can detect the presence of species without necessarily observing them directly. This approach has revealed hidden diversity and identified areas where further investigation may be especially productive. Such methods demonstrate that exploration is no longer limited solely to physical observation. Modern deep-sea science combines imaging technologies, genetic analysis, chemical measurements, and computational modeling. Together, these tools create increasingly detailed pictures of environments once considered inaccessible. Yet despite these advances, the deep ocean continues to surprise researchers with unexpected discoveries. Scientific expeditions also reveal how interconnected deep-sea ecosystems can be. New species rarely exist in isolation. Their roles within food webs, reproductive networks, and ecological processes help illuminate broader relationships shaping entire communities. Understanding a single organism often leads to insights about many others. Discovery therefore becomes a pathway toward understanding ecosystem function as a whole. The emotional dimension of exploration should not be overlooked either. Although science depends on careful observation and evidence, many researchers describe a sense of wonder when encountering previously unseen forms of life. Watching a creature emerge from darkness for the first time, or observing behaviors never before recorded, can be profoundly moving. These experiences remind scientists that exploration remains one of humanity's most powerful tools for expanding knowledge. Perhaps most remarkable is the realization that major discoveries continue to occur in the present day. Unlike many environments extensively studied over centuries, the deep ocean still contains vast regions awaiting investigation. Entire ecosystems may remain undocumented. Species unknown to science may inhabit habitats not yet visited by researchers. The frontier is not merely historical, it remains active. As expeditions continue, technology steadily increases humanity's ability to explore deeper, stay longer, and observe more carefully. Each advancement reveals additional layers of complexity within the abyss. The process resembles opening a book whose pages extend far beyond what has already been read. Every answer generates new questions, and every discovery points toward further mysteries. Yet technology itself is becoming an increasingly important part of this story. The tools enabling exploration are evolving rapidly, transforming how researchers observe, map, and understand the deep ocean. From autonomous vehicles to advanced imaging systems, new innovations are expanding humanity's view beneath the waves and allowing scientists to investigate regions once considered permanently beyond reach. The future of deep-sea discovery may therefore depend as much on technological creativity as on biological curiosity, as the next generation of exploration tools continues to reveal hidden worlds lying far below the surface of the sea. Number 13. Technology expands humanity's view beneath waves. Every generation inherits a slightly larger view of the world than the one before it. Maps become more detailed, instruments become more precise, and environments once hidden gradually come into focus. Few places illustrate this process more clearly than the deep ocean. For most of human history, the abyss remained beyond direct observation. Its darkness concealed entire ecosystems, geological formations, and biological relationships. Today, technology serves as the bridge between human curiosity and one of the least explored regions of Earth, steadily expanding the boundaries of what can be seen, measured, and understood beneath the waves. The challenge begins with the ocean itself. Water is an effective barrier to many forms of observation. Light diminishes rapidly with depth, pressure increases continuously, and radio signals that travel easily through air become ineffective underwater. Unlike satellites observing Earth's surface from space, researchers studying the deep ocean must bring their instruments directly into the environment they wish to investigate. Every advance in deep-sea science therefore depends upon technological systems capable of functioning under extraordinary conditions. One of the earliest breakthroughs involved the ability to measure depth accurately. Before sophisticated instruments existed, understanding the shape of the sea floor relied on relatively simple methods. Weighted lines could provide measurements at individual locations, but they offered only isolated points of information. Vast regions remained unmapped. Scientists knew the ocean was deep, yet they lacked a detailed understanding of the landscapes hidden below. The development of sonar transformed this situation. By sending sound waves through water and measuring how long they take to return after striking the seafloor, researchers could construct increasingly detailed maps of underwater terrain. Mountain ranges, deep trenches, canyons, and volcanic features gradually emerged from obscurity. The ocean floor, once imagined as a relatively uniform plain, revealed itself as a complex landscape rivaling the diversity of continents above sea level. These discoveries altered scientific understanding in fundamental ways. Geological structures hidden beneath the ocean helped explain processes shaping Earth's crust. Plate boundaries, spreading centers, and deep trenches became visible components of a dynamic planet. The deep ocean was no longer merely a biological frontier. It became a geological one as well. As mapping technologies improved, attention increasingly turned toward direct observation. Human-occupied submersibles provided some of the first opportunities for researchers to witness deep-sea environments firsthand. Descending into darkness inside a specially engineered vessel allowed scientists to observe organisms within their natural habitats. These missions required extraordinary engineering. Pressure-resistant hulls, life support systems, communication equipment, and navigation technologies all had to function reliably under extreme conditions. The experience of observing the deep ocean directly often changed perspectives dramatically. Organisms previously known only from preserved specimens could now be seen moving, feeding, and interacting with their surroundings. Geological features could be examined in context. Entire ecosystems became visible. Direct observation transformed isolated facts into connected understanding. Despite their value, crude submersibles face practical limitations. Human safety requirements restrict mission duration, depth, and operational flexibility. To overcome these constraints, researchers increasingly turned to remotely operated vehicles, connected to support vessels by cables transmitting power and data. These machines can descend into environments far beyond ordinary human reach. Equipped with cameras, lights, robotic arms, and scientific instruments, they function as extensions of human observation. Remotely operated vehicles have become central to modern ocean exploration. Their cameras provide detailed images of organisms and habitats. Their sampling tools collect specimens and geological materials. Their sensors measure temperature, chemistry, and physical conditions throughout the water column. Through these systems, scientists gain access to information that would otherwise remain unavailable. Autonomous underwater vehicles represent another important development. Unlike remotely operated systems, these machines can function independently according to programmed instructions. They survey large areas, collect environmental data, and operate for extended periods without continuous human control. By covering regions too vast for direct observation alone, autonomous vehicles help researchers build broader pictures of deep-sea ecosystems and geological structures. Advances in imaging technology have further expanded scientific capabilities. High-definition cameras reveal details that earlier generations of researchers could scarcely imagine. Sensitive sensors capture images under extremely low light conditions. Three-dimensional mapping systems create detailed representations of habitats, allowing scientists to study spatial relationships with remarkable precision. The resulting data provide insights into behaviors, ecological interactions, and environmental complexity. The role of computing has become equally important. Modern expeditions generate enormous quantities of information. Images, video recordings, sonar measurements, chemical analyses, and genetic data accumulate rapidly. Advanced computational tools help researchers process, organize, and interpret these datasets. Patterns that might remain invisible within raw information become identifiable through careful analysis. Technology therefore extends not only observation, but also understanding. Artificial intelligence increasingly contributes to this process. Machine learning systems assist in identifying species, analyzing imagery, and detecting patterns within large datasets. Because deep-sea expeditions often produce more information than researchers can immediately examine, automated tools help prioritize observations and accelerate discovery. These technologies do not replace scientific judgment, but they expand the ability to manage complex information effectively. Communication systems have also evolved significantly. Live video transmissions allow researchers around the world to participate in expeditions remotely. A scientist located thousands of kilometers from a research vessel can observe discoveries in real time, contribute expertise, and collaborate with colleagues. Exploration has become increasingly connected, transforming individual expeditions into global scientific efforts. Technology has even changed how the public experiences the deep ocean. Images and videos from research missions allow people to witness environments that were once inaccessible to anyone except a small number of specialists. Transparent jellyfish drifting through darkness, hydrothermal vent communities flourishing on the seafloor, and unusual fish navigating abyssal waters can now be observed by audiences around the world. Public engagement helps foster appreciation for ecosystems many people may never encounter directly. Yet, despite these advances, limitations remain. Large portions of the ocean floor have not been mapped in high detail. Countless species remain undiscovered. Entire ecosystems likely await investigation. The deep sea continues to challenge technology because of its scale, complexity, and environmental extremes. Every solution reveals additional questions requiring further innovation. This ongoing relationship between exploration and technology reflects a broader pattern throughout scientific history. New tools expand observation. Expanded observation generates new questions. Answering those questions requires additional technological development. Progress emerges through a continuous cycle linking curiosity and invention. The deep ocean provides one of the clearest examples of this process in action. Perhaps the most important achievement of these technologies is not any individual discovery, but the gradual transformation of the unknown into the understood. Features once hidden now appear on detailed maps. Organisms once unseen become subjects of scientific study. Processes once mysterious become increasingly comprehensible. Technology extends human perception into environments our senses alone could never reach. And as that perception expands, the significance of deep-sea discoveries grows beyond marine biology. The organisms, ecosystems, and adaptations found in the abyss continue to reshape scientific understanding of evolution, ecology, geology, and even the potential for life elsewhere in the universe. Each expedition contributes not only new information, but also new perspectives on how life functions under conditions far removed from those familiar on the surface. The deeper researchers look, the more evident it becomes that the deep ocean is not merely a remote environment. It is a source of insights capable of changing how humanity understands the living world itself, revealing lessons that extend far beyond the boundaries of the sea. Number 14. Deep-sea discoveries reshape biological understanding. Scientific discoveries are often measured by the facts they reveal. A new species is identified, a previously unknown ecosystem is documented, or an unusual biological process is observed. Yet some discoveries have a deeper impact. They do more than add information. They change the framework through which information is interpreted. The deep ocean has repeatedly produced this kind of transformation. As researchers have explored its depths, they have encountered organisms, behaviors, and ecosystems that challenge long-held assumptions about the nature of life itself. In doing so, deep-sea discoveries have reshaped biological understanding in ways that extend far beyond marine science. One of the earliest assumptions challenged by deep-sea exploration concerned the limits of habitability. For much of scientific history, environments characterized by extreme pressure, perpetual darkness, low temperatures, and scarce resources seemed unlikely places for abundant life. Such conditions appeared fundamentally hostile. Yet expedition after expedition revealed thriving communities adapted precisely to these circumstances. Rather than approaching the limits of life, researchers found themselves observing environments where evolution had generated remarkable solutions to extraordinary challenges. This realization encouraged scientists to reconsider a fundamental question: how flexible is life? The answer emerging from deep-sea research has consistently been broader than expected. Organisms do not merely survive under extreme conditions. Many become highly specialized and successful within them. Evolution repeatedly demonstrates an ability to exploit opportunities wherever stable sources of energy and suitable environmental conditions exist. Hydrothermal vent ecosystems provided perhaps the most dramatic example of this shift in perspective. Before their discovery, sunlight was widely viewed as the ultimate foundation of nearly all ecosystems. The recognition that entire biological communities could be sustained through chemosynthesis fundamentally expanded scientific understanding of energy pathways supporting life. Organisms could build complex ecosystems using chemical energy derived from geological processes rather than solar radiation. The implications reached beyond oceanography. If life on Earth could flourish independently of sunlight, then scientists studying planetary environments elsewhere gained new possibilities to consider. Worlds previously dismissed as unlikely habitats suddenly appeared more interesting. Moons possessing subsurface oceans, chemical energy sources, or geological activity became potential targets in the search for extraterrestrial life. Deep-sea discoveries therefore influenced not only biology but also planetary science and astrobiology. Research into deep-sea microorganisms has produced equally significant insights. For many years, large animals dominated public attention, yet microscopic organisms often provide some of the most important clues about biological adaptability. Microbes inhabiting extreme deep-sea environments possess biochemical systems capable of functioning under conditions once considered incompatible with life. Their enzymes, cellular structures, and metabolic pathways reveal alternative solutions to challenges posed by pressure, temperature, and chemistry. Studying these microorganisms has expanded understanding of evolutionary diversity. Life does not follow a single blueprint. Instead, it explores numerous possibilities, generating biological systems adapted to specific environmental contexts. Deep-sea microbes demonstrate how evolution can modify fundamental processes while preserving the essential functions necessary for survival. They reveal flexibility at the most basic levels of biology. Pressure itself has become a subject of renewed scientific interest because of deep-sea research. Earlier assumptions often treated extreme pressure primarily as a constraint, yet organisms living in the abyss demonstrate that biological systems can operate efficiently under conditions vastly different from those experienced on the surface. Investigating how proteins, membranes, and cellular processes remain functional at depth has contributed to broader understanding of physiology and molecular biology. The deep ocean has also reshaped ideas about biodiversity. Traditional perspectives often associated biological richness with environments receiving abundant sunlight and supporting high productivity. While such ecosystems remain extraordinarily diverse, deep-sea exploration revealed that complexity can arise under very different circumstances. Vast numbers of species occupy deep habitats, many of which remain undiscovered. Diversity emerges not solely from abundance, but also from environmental variation, evolutionary history, and ecological specialization. This insight has influenced conservation science as well. For many years, deep-sea ecosystems received less attention than more visible environments. As knowledge expanded, researchers recognized that these habitats contain unique biological communities with significant ecological value. Protecting biodiversity, therefore, requires considering regions far beyond those most familiar to human observation. Conservation increasingly encompasses ecosystems once regarded as distant and inaccessible. Deep-sea organisms have contributed directly to practical scientific applications too. Certain bioluminescent proteins discovered in marine species became essential tools in biological research. Scientists use them to track cellular processes, study gene expression, and investigate disease mechanisms. Adaptations evolved in darkness now support investigations occurring in laboratories worldwide. The connection illustrates how curiosity-driven exploration can generate benefits extending far beyond its original goals. The study of deep-sea longevity has also attracted attention. Some organisms inhabiting abyssal environments exhibit remarkably long lifespans. Understanding the biological mechanisms underlying such longevity may provide insights into aging, cellular maintenance, and resilience. Researchers continue examining these systems, seeking lessons applicable across broader biological contexts. Another important contribution involves ecological interconnectedness. Deep-sea research has highlighted the extent to which Earth's systems are linked. Surface productivity influences abyssal ecosystems through the movement of organic material. Geological activity supports vent communities. Ocean currents connect distant populations. Nutrient cycles operate across enormous spatial scales. The deep ocean reinforces the understanding that ecosystems rarely function in isolation. Biological and geological processes interact continuously, shaping life across the planet. The discovery of previously unknown reproductive strategies, communication systems, and sensory adaptations has similarly expanded understanding of biological possibility. Organisms communicate through chemistry, exploit darkness through bioluminescence, and solve reproductive challenges using methods that might once have seemed improbable. Each example broadens the range of known evolutionary solutions, reminding scientists that familiar systems represent only a subset of what life can achieve. Perhaps the most profound lesson emerging from deep-sea discoveries concerns humility. Scientific progress often begins with assumptions based on available evidence. Exploration tests those assumptions. Again and again, the deep ocean has revealed realities more complex than expected. Environments presumed barren prove productive. Organisms presumed impossible prove real. Processes assumed universal reveal alternatives. The abyss serves as a reminder that understanding remains incomplete and that nature frequently exceeds human expectations. This humility encourages continued exploration. Every discovery raises additional questions. How many species remain unknown? What ecological interactions have yet to be documented? What biochemical adaptations await investigation? The deeper scientists look, the more they recognize how much remains to be learned. The ocean's greatest depths continue to function as a frontier of biological knowledge. At the same time, these discoveries invite reflection on humanity's relationship with the natural world. The deep sea is not separate from life on the surface. Its ecosystems contribute to planetary processes influencing climate, nutrient cycling, and biodiversity. Understanding the abyss, therefore, enriches understanding of Earth as a whole. Each new insight strengthens the recognition that life operates through interconnected systems spanning environments from sunlit shallows to the deepest trenches. As exploration continues, the deep ocean remains a source of scientific surprises and philosophical perspective. It reveals adaptability where limitations were expected, complexity where simplicity was assumed, and resilience where fragility seemed likely. Through its discoveries, humanity gains not only knowledge of distant environments, but also a deeper appreciation for the extraordinary versatility of life itself. And perhaps that is the enduring significance of the deep sea. Beyond its strange creatures, hidden landscapes, and remarkable ecosystems lies a broader lesson. One that emerges gradually from every expedition and every discovery. The abyss shows that life continually finds ways to persist, adapt, and flourish, even in places that appear least welcoming to its existence. Number 15. Lessons from abyssal life and adaptation. The deep ocean is often described as one of Earth's last great frontiers. That phrase captures something important about its mystery. Yet it only partially explains its significance. The abyss is not valuable merely because it remains unexplored. It matters because it reveals principles that extend far beyond the ocean itself. Throughout this journey into the depths, strange creatures, hidden ecosystems, and remarkable adaptations have appeared again and again. Beneath their diversity lies a common story, one centered on life's extraordinary ability to respond to challenge, persist through uncertainty, and flourish in environments that initially seem impossible. At first glance, the deep sea appears defined by absence. There is little sunlight, limited food, immense pressure, and vast distances separating individuals and communities. Human intuition often associates such conditions with scarcity and restriction. Yet the deeper scientists looked, the more they discovered abundance of another kind. Not abundance in the sense of easy resources, but abundance in solutions. Evolution had spent millions of years responding to each challenge, producing an astonishing variety of adaptations tailored to life in darkness. Pressure, which once seemed an overwhelming obstacle, became an environmental constant around which entire biological systems were organized. Organisms evolved molecular structures capable of functioning under forces that would destroy many surface-dwelling forms of life. Rather than resisting their environment, these creatures became inseparable from it. Their bodies reflected the conditions surrounding them, demonstrating that survival often emerges not from overcoming nature, but from adapting to it. Darkness produced similar lessons. In a world without sunlight, life did not simply endure reduced visibility. It transformed darkness into opportunity. Bioluminescent organisms generated their own illumination. Communication systems evolved through chemistry and vibration. Predators learned to hunt within conditions that limited conventional sight. What initially appeared to be a limitation became a catalyst for innovation. The absence of light did not halt evolution. It redirected it. The strange body forms encountered throughout the deep ocean illustrate this principle repeatedly. Large jaws, sensitive receptors, transparent tissues, elongated appendages, and unusual reproductive strategies may seem unfamiliar from a human perspective. Yet each adaptation represents a response to a specific challenge. The deep sea reminds us that there is no single ideal design for life. Biological success depends on context. Evolution does not pursue perfection according to universal standards. It produces solutions that work within particular environments. This idea becomes especially clear when considering hydrothermal vent ecosystems. Few discoveries have challenged assumptions more profoundly than the realization that entire communities can thrive without dependence on sunlight. Chemical energy emerging from Earth's interior supports organisms whose existence was once unimaginable. These ecosystems demonstrate that life can draw upon sources of opportunity hidden beneath familiar expectations. They reveal possibilities broader than those suggested by everyday experience. The study of reproduction in the deep sea offers another perspective on persistence. Across enormous distances and within sparsely populated environments, species continue to find ways of maintaining continuity. Chemical signals, drifting larvae, specialized partnerships, and carefully timed reproductive cycles all contribute to the survival of future generations. These strategies reflect an enduring truth. Life is not defined solely by individual survival. It is shaped equally by the ability to create continuity across time. Slow metabolisms and extended lifespans add further depth to this lesson. Many deep-sea organisms exist according to rhythms very different from those common in more productive environments. Growth may take years, reproduction may occur infrequently, ecological change may unfold over decades or centuries. In a world often focused on speed, the deep ocean presents an alternative model. Persistence can be as powerful as rapid expansion. Endurance can be as important as activity. Success sometimes emerges through patience rather than acceleration. Scientific exploration itself forms part of the story. The deep ocean remained hidden for much of human history, not because it lacked significance, but because it resisted easy observation. Every technological advance expanded the boundaries of knowledge slightly further. Sonar revealed landscapes, submersibles provided direct observation. Remotely operated vehicles documented ecosystems never before seen. Genetic tools uncovered diversity invisible to traditional methods. Each innovation opened another window into a world that had existed all along. This gradual unveiling carries its own lesson. Knowledge often advances through persistence rather than sudden revelation. The deep sea did not surrender its secrets all at once. Understanding accumulated through countless observations, experiments, and explorations. Every discovery built upon earlier efforts. The process mirrors the slow accumulation of adaptations within the organisms being studied. Progress, whether biological or scientific, frequently unfolds through incremental change. Perhaps one of the most striking themes running throughout deep-sea research is the relationship between limitation and possibility. Conditions that appear restrictive often generate unexpected forms of creativity. Darkness encourages new communication systems, scarcity promotes efficiency, isolation inspires reproductive innovation, geological activity supports entire ecosystems. Again and again, environments that seem inhospitable reveal hidden opportunities for adaptation. This perspective has implications extending beyond marine biology. The deep ocean serves as a reminder that initial appearances can be misleading. Environments, systems, and challenges may contain possibilities not immediately visible. Assumptions based on familiar experience do not always capture the full range of what is possible. Exploration remains valuable precisely because reality often exceeds expectation. The abyss also highlights the interconnected nature of life. Marine snow descending from surface waters supports deep ecosystems. Geological processes influence biological communities. Ocean currents connect distant populations. Microscopic organisms sustain larger food webs. No species exists entirely alone. Every organism participates in networks of energy, matter, and information extending far beyond immediate surroundings. The deep sea reinforces the understanding that life functions through relationships as much as through individual adaptation. As scientific knowledge continues to expand, new questions inevitably emerge. Vast regions of the ocean remain unexplored. Species await discovery. Ecological interactions remain undocumented. Biochemical adaptations continue to surprise researchers. The frontier persists not because exploration has failed, but because the scale of the unknown remains immense. Each answer reveals additional layers of complexity. Yet even amid this uncertainty, certain conclusions appear increasingly clear. Life is more adaptable than once believed. Ecosystems are more diverse than expected. Biological possibilities extend far beyond familiar environments. The deep ocean has repeatedly demonstrated these truths through observation rather than speculation. It has become one of the strongest sources of evidence for the versatility of life on Earth. In the end, the deep sea offers more than scientific information. It provides perspective. Beneath thousands of meters of water, beyond sunlight and beyond ordinary human experience, countless organisms continue their existence according to principles refined across immense spans of time. They hunt, communicate, reproduce, adapt, and persist within environments shaped by forces very different from those familiar on the surface. The ocean's greatest depths remain dark, but they are no longer empty. They are filled with stories written through evolution, recorded in living forms that reveal what life can become when faced with extraordinary circumstances. The abyss teaches that survival is not a single strategy, but an endless process of adjustment. It shows that complexity can emerge from scarcity, that opportunity can exist within limitation, and that life possesses a remarkable capacity to endure. And so, far below the reach of sunlight, where pressure rises and darkness settles across the seafloor, the deep ocean continues its quiet work. Species evolve, ecosystems function, new generations emerge, hidden worlds persist beyond ordinary sight. The abyss remains a place of mystery, but it is also a place of understanding, a reminder that wherever conditions allow even the smallest possibility, life has an extraordinary habit of finding a way forward.